Tonight we have a new presenter from Austin, Harsha, and he will talk about something that we didn't talk a lot. It's about security. How to log in securely when you write something, like when you write the app or when you make a website. I think you don't need a lot about security. Yes, login, username, password, that's it. But what is behind that security and what you have to do and how other people or other companies can help you with this, Harsha will explain. So please welcome Harsha.
Thank you. Okay, thank you guys. So I think you can scan this and get the access for the GitHub. I have put everything to this GitHub location. So whatever I do, so everything is there, right? So you can get scan. All right, so yeah, so it's like so what we are going to discuss about, like, simply it's application login, right? So normally what we do, like, when we develop application, we always like, let's say like you're developing a client application using React or Python or whatever, like PHP, the WordPress. So in most of the cases, those application needs some login, right? So some, like, user management, the user role management, and log into the application, those things, right? So so let's say that you're starting that application, developing application. So once you start the developing application, you have to implement the login screen and the user management and everything within the application, right? So that's the basic thing that we do when we talk about the application login, right? So I'm going to talk about little bit of more, like, the next level on that. So the basic login challenges in React application. I'm directly talking about the React application, but this is applicable for all the other languages and all the client application development, right? So when we talk about this, the React, let's say we'll talk about the React login application. So when we implement a login capability and the user management, these are the basic, the challenges that you have to do anyway when you implement it. Basically, the thing is that first of all, you have to store the credentials, the user information and the credential, and across the application, you have to manage the authentication. Basically, in the React, across all the component, you have to manage the authentication, right? And then again, you have to give more concentration on, like, how to store the sensitive information in the browser side or maybe the backend, wherever. So that you have to take care of those things, and then how to handle the user information in the database and the application itself, how you manage it throughout all the application pages and everywhere, right? So, and then again, like, especially the session expiration and logout. When you log out, you have to log out everything in the application. I know that everyone will do that, but you have to do all these things in the application itself, right? So then again, like, in the React application, the routes, right? You have to secure all the routes. Maybe there can be, like, a couple of routes that you don't need to secure, and there can be secure some routes based on the login, maybe based on the roles, kind of, right? So then once you give the capability and then the login capability to the application, which means, like, you have to manage the users and role in the application side. You have to have everything. Like, basically, let's say someone log into the admin log into the application and create new users and assign the roles. So that user has to have a kind of a privilege for that level. So you have to implement everything, right? So then you have to handle all the error handling part properly, because you are dealing with the user information, right? Which is like very important, and there are so many regulations. So you have to be very careful when you are implementing and when you are storing the user information, right? So these are the basic challenges that you have to face and given some effort to implement in your application side, right? This is anyway happen. The application developers, they do this. This is not a big challenge, but they are doing this. But there is some doubt about whether they have a proper understanding about this compliancy, the data regulations, the security, the vulnerabilities. Those things, most application developers, they don't have a good understanding, right? So they just implement these things, and the normal, basic, if it is not a critical business, then there will not be such a risk, such a vulnerabilities, and no one will, attack into those sites. That's fine. But if it goes to the enterprise scale, so you can't implement like this, right? So there are so many regulation, and you have to concern on so many security, right? So yeah, these are the basic thing. But let's see this. Even though we see this as the login is kind of simple thing, there are so many things coming behind, right? So many extended capabilities come with this login. This is not a simple login, right? Once you implement simple login once you implement simple login capability in your application, what happens? It get evolves, and the new feature should implement with that application. End of the day, you will be ended up with so many features and so many extended capabilities to the application. You don't have a time to focus to your real business, but you are focusing something else, right? And so many challenges behind that, and so many security problems, and so many things around this, right? So you can see that, right? You are very familiar with these things for sure, because social login and single sign-on. Maybe if you are not familiar, someone social login that we are familiar, right? So we are integrating our application login with the social logins, social Facebook or whatever. The single sign-on. Let's say that in a same business, if you have a couple of websites, you don't need to log in for each application every time. You can, once you log into one application, the other tab you can open and it automatically sign in, right? So the multi-factor authentication. So you may have to give strong authentication, giving another step like OTP, email OTP or SMS OTP after providing the credential, right? So then authorization, because once you authenticated, you would get the role, or maybe a kind of a coarse grain role, or maybe set of permissions, right? So then based on that, you have to handle your web application. Then consent management. People don't care about that when the application developers implement the login things in the application side, but the consent management is very important when we store and when the user accept the login. So user has to accept and give the consent once he, as an example, let's say that once you log in from the Facebook, right? Once you log in from the Facebook to a different application, you have seen that they are prompting and asking your consent, right? So which means it prompt purposely and getting your consent. It cannot be happen mistakenly. You have to give a consent purposely, right? So then that is why especially it get the consent, because the Facebook is going to, not the Facebook, the application is going to get the Facebook information to the application side, right? So that's why the consent management happened there. So then again, in your application side, you have to use a management, as I said, and again, account locking, password reset, so many things coming around this, right? So those are the extended capabilities that you have to implement in the application, right? So this is definitely will be a challenge, who implement the application with the login. So the same thing I have explained here, so but a little bit more detail. Yeah, so those are the extended capabilities that you have seen. This slide deck is available in that Git repo. Yeah. So now once we come to this step, So since we know this complexity, if someone asks to implement this login and this capabilities to an application, so then we have to think about where it's going to go, right? So whether it's a complicated application going to be, or it's just a simple website, just give and login, that's it. So if there is a chance that it get a bit complicated and with the business, so we have to think about from the beginning whether it's going to be implemented within the application itself, or you have to delegate all these capabilities to a separate identity product, right? Because why I'm talking about here, IAM, identity provider, there are the identity provider in the industry, the open source and the SaaS solution and proprietary, so many products available, so you can integrate with your application easily, right? That's what I'm going to talk about, right? How you delegate your responsibility for a third-party identity provider. So here, so if you integrate app with your external identity provider, then you can focus your business and just connect with the identity providers, right? Okay, so what are the identity and access management product available? If you have any question, just interrupt me. So those are the available products in the market, but these are a couple of only. So I'm also working in such a company. So we are our company name called WSO2. So we are 100% open source company. So we have provided all the code and all the projects open source, and you can available in the GitHub. So you can run in production without paying anything. So this is what we have here, open source IAM, WSO2. And we have a SaaS solution as well, which is proprietary. And Oracle, Azure, ForgeRock. Out of this, the Keycloak and the WSO2 only provide the open source. All the other products are proprietary that you have to pay when you use it, right? Right. Have anyone used any of this product to integrate in your applications? No?
Maybe Oracle?
Oracle for the identity? DB.
For work.
For what?
For work.
Okay. Okay.
Auth0.
Auth0. Okay.
They have plugin for WordPress.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Auth0 have, yeah. Yes. You have any question? Okay.
No.
Right. So.
Writing everything from scratch.
Okay. So okay. So then, when we talk about this the identity product, so we have to talk about the communication protocol, because all these identity product have exposed the same protocol, because there are no any other specific product that they follow their own protocol. All the products supporting the same protocol. Let's say that if one application developed to integrate with one product, with Oracle, you can switch to any other product because everyone communicate with the same protocols, right? It's a public specification that you have to study. Maybe there are so many things to cover and learn. There's a learning curve actually. So to get understand about this, the specification especially. So the OAuth2 OpenID Connect, OAuth2 maybe definitely you may have heard about, right? So OAuth2 OpenID Connect, this is the most the popular and demanding protocol. OAuth2 is kind of public specification for the authorization. Authorization and authorization versus authentication, right? So the authorization is provide the authorized to a resource without providing the identity, but authentication is identifying you and provide the identity, right? It's a two different thing. OAuth2 has developed to the authorization as authorization framework, and on top of that, Google developed this OpenID Connect, OIDC, and it's for the authentication and authorization, right? So this is most popular protocol that all these products support. and SAML bit old, but still they are using. It's XML-based authentication protocol, right? So Kerberos also, like, you have seen that, like, when you log into the Windows machine in some companies, they have incorporated your login with the, like, Active Directory and the Windows machine itself. So then it connected through this Kerberos kind of protocol. So, and LDAP, you may already have heard about those things. Those are LDAP. It's kind of a directory service that you can store the user information and do the authentication. Those are, like, different specification and the communication channel. We are talking about Auth2 OpenID Connect, how to integrate your application with the identity provider. So, yeah.
Using your example, OpenID, you only have to have one OpenID and then it'll go to everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. In the client application, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a public specification, yeah.
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 Okay. Good.
So, yeah, I'll explain few things about this specification, but there are, like, it's a broad area because the authorization protocol O2 has, like, so many specification under that to do, like, many things. So not only the authentication authorization, but there are so many other sub part of that entire model. So there are many specification, and again OIDC also has a couple of. So let's talk about, like, authentication, right? Where when we talk about the authentication, what we are actually doing, right? In this diagram, the client application here and the identity provider here. It's a clear. You can see that the client application that you are developing here and the identity provider here. So in between that, you have to open a communication channel, right? So without having an identity provider, what you have to do, you have to implement everything in your client application, right? You are doing everything here, right? But in here, you are communicating with the identity provider in a, like, browser redirection or maybe back channel API call or whatever different communication happen in between client application and identity provider, right? So when we get a one user story, like the user click on a login page and what happened, the full story. I'll go through the complete story. So there is that client application here. The user wants to log into the client application. What happened? User will load the one home page or whatever from the client application and click a login button simply. The client application will redirect to the identity provider. You can see that second step, authorization request with some set of parameters following the specification. Client application redirect to the identity provider, and identity provider will prompt a login screen to the user, right? The client application will not provide any login screen, just like providing a login button. Once it click on that, it redirect to the identity provider, and identity provider provide the login screen to the user, right? User will provide the credential to that screen. It's a different. It may be a different domain. The client application in a different domain. The identity provider may be in a different domain. But in some business, let's say like in the bank. In the bank, when you log into the bank, you don't see a different redirection, right? You are in the bank system itself. In that case, it's a different protocol, but it's a OIDC, but different protocol. But here I'm talking about the client application redirected to another identity provider in a different domain. Yeah.
This is like a Stripe checkout page, like how you can it's the same sort of concept though, right? Where you basically redirect it to a secure server to do what you need to do, and then you get a
this is one way.
webhook back or something.
Yeah. This is one way. The other way is that back channel authentication. In the bank application, you don't see any redirection, but it's still there that such identity provider.
Right.
Yeah. There is another, like the OIDC, another protocol to communicate back channel to authenticate.
You can do the same thing with,
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. In here, we redirect here. So it's a two different way.
Okay.
Yeah. Based on the use case.
Right on.
Yeah. Because as an example, the bank, they have only their portal. They don't have multiple portal. But in some businesses, they may have a different portal So then they have to have a single central identity provider to redirect everyone to the same place. They can't have their own login screen. Then they have to implement login screen in each application. What happened? So then identity provider, that capability has to embed it to the application for all the applications. So in such cases, they delegate that to the single central identity provider. In that case, they redirect to that and putting that identity server in the same trusted domain. Right? In bank system, they don't trust it. They always try to embed the identity provider with the application itself. Right? So here we are talking about the redirection scenario. So identity provider provide that login screen to the user. The user will provide the credential and submit it, the third step, and with the consent, that it gives the consent as well, because there can be two steps, like once you provide the credential and click on the login button, then again identity provider will prompt another screen to get the consent to like saying that I'm going to provide your user information to the application, kind of, right? So then once it provides the consent, the identity provider will redirect to the link to the client application again with you can see that access token and ID token. Those are like just following the OIDC protocol, right? So access token is just like giving access to some resource, and the ID token is providing all the user information, right? So this is just following the protocol. And once it redirects to the client application, either it can prompt the next welcome page or whatever, or maybe it needs to access some sort of backend APIs, right? So let's say that your backend APIs hosted in this resource server. So this client application will try to access this resource APIs from this resource server by putting that given access token as in the header, right? Authorization header. And when it call this resource APIs, the resource server will introspect. It's again like just following the protocol. Identity provider has exposed the introspect APIs by following the OpenID Connect, and resource server validate that access token, the expiration and the resource accessibility, everything checked with the identity provider, and will give the required response to their client application and complete the entire flow. So that's how normally when you delegate this capability to the external identity provider and accessing the external resource server to access the APIs, this is the complete story, right? So if you are delegating this capability, this identity capability to the identity provider, then you have to have a proper understanding about this OpenID Connect specification, unless you can't do this, because all the communication protocol and parameters you have to know, and that's not a big rocket science, just specification. Then you can just read it and follow it. So any question? Okay.
You're going to mention the thing about the pen stuff?
Which one?
Pen in the previous slide. I think you had a thing about SCIM2.
Scheme.
Talk about that at all?
Yeah, scheme is not for the authentication, but communicate with the identity provider to store and read the user information.
Yeah, but it says particularly pen standard. Does that imply actual physical pen, like handwriting recognition and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't want to get too far down a rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
I was curious about that. Okay.
Okay.
You said physical pen?
No. Yeah, so I have here a little bit more detail on that authorization code grant. So what I discussed here, the same thing I have detail discussed here, but by following this, you can get to know entire that flow with all the parameters and everything, right? Same thing I explained earlier, previous page, right? So there are some more stuff here, PKC, for the single page application to make it more secure. to prevent the in a single page application that we have to store the access token. Basically, you can see that once the client user authenticate from the identity provider, it provides that access token. The single page application, where it's stored, we have to store it in the browser, wherever, maybe session storage, local storage, wherever you have to store it, right? So then what happened? Anyone can get that access token. There is some risk, anyone can, let's say that your web application has some, let's say that if someone can do a phishing attack by putting some query parameter, and when it load, it automatically access your browser session storage and submit to some external API. That can be happen, right? So those things we have to manage, and the PKC, it does actually no one can hack this the flow in the middle. The middleman attack, no one can do, because it generates random code here and submit that hashing value to the backend, and when it gets the exact access token, it provides the code verifier, and backend identity provider will verify with that hash value and the provided the verified code, and validate it, and or if it is valid only, it gives the response. So no one can attack in the middle, because every time it randomly generate, right? So it's develop on top of the PKs, as I explained, it's another specification in the OIDC, right? So so there are so many things to do, but if you are integrating with the identity provider, right? So I want to introduce another thing here, especially how we can reduce this effort as well when you develop your client application without knowing all these specific thing, how you can make it easily in your develop your client application and integrating with the identity provider, right? So the
question before you go on, could you go back one slide?
Yeah.
I never caught the difference between the ID token and the access token.
Okay, so here as I explained earlier, OAuth2 is authorization framework specification. OAuth2 provide only the access token. It doesn't provide the user identity.
Okay.
As an example, when you come to the reception, you give your ID and get the access card, right? That access card doesn't have any UI information. You kept your ID there, and you got the access card, and you go inside the building, right? You can open the door, but that card doesn't have your identity. Right. It's like OAuth2. Right? But when you go to the OpenID Connect, on top of that OAuth2, you have to have your identity as well when you go inside. Right? Then access token plus ID token. ID token has all the user information.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a two different token. It return with the redirection to the client application. Once the user authenticate from the identity provider, it redirect back to the client application with these two tokens.
So it could be something like a hash of your email, something like that?
Say it again.
Would it be something like a hash of your email that only the IDP knows?
Email address?
Detailed data, or is it just?
Yeah, it's a JSON. It's a JSON. Okay. Yeah, it's a JSON. Right? Have you heard about JWT?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a JWT token. It's a JSON token. It has the JWT token also has some specification, because no one can modify it in the middle, because it has its digital signature in the at last, signed signature in the at last. So that JWT token also valid token that client application read, because once it properly authenticated from the valid identity provider, it returned only the valid signed token with the access token.
Cool, thank you.
Right? Okay, so yeah, so there are as I explained, here, once you decide to integrate with the identity provider, since you have so many open source product, you can think about in future when you develop your application, why I implement all these things, I can delegate that part to the identity provider, right? You can host that identity provider in your system itself, in your platform itself, and just connect it, right? But when once you decide, but you have another complexity to learn these things and communicate. So there are so many SDKs that provide for all the client application developers in basically not only the React, the Next.js and the WordPress. All these things has the SDKs and for the WordPress the plugins, so that you can easily connect your client application with the identity provider without knowing anything about this protocol, right? Just couple of configuration, it automatically handle everything. You will get the authenticated user object. It does everything, right? And Asgardeo React SDK that provide from WSO2, so it's open source, that available. You can get the source code as well. So what happens once you integrate such a not only the Asgardeo but any SDK, let's say that as you said, Auth0 also provides such SDK. So once you integrate that kind of SDK with your application, you can see. So there are no any hassles as we discussed about in here. There was couple of communication channels that you have to know, but in here you don't want to know anything about. You just install the SDK and a couple of lines write in your client application. The SDK will do everything, right? All the communication, right? Simple.
About standards for protection of data, we have in Europe a standard
GDPR.
GDPR.
Yeah, so the SDK will not play any role hiding anything. It's just communicating in between the identity provider and the client application. So the compliance will come not in that layer. Compliance will come when you decide to integrate the identity provider in the first place, right? So because when you're delegating your login and user management to a third-party identity provider, that problem will come, and then you have to based on the compliance, you have to either put into a same domain or same trusted domain or kind of, and that's why we get the consent again, without getting the user's consent, you don't get the user information from the identity provider to the client application, right? So like that. So yeah, so once you install such a SDK, you will not face such complexities when you're integrating with the identity provider. So yeah, we can do a simple integration. I'll run. I'm not a React developer, to be honest, but I know a little bit of, but I'm a backend developer, and but we'll try. So I know, but because I tried a couple of things, and we can do this. So in here we'll cover we'll simple with application, and we'll install the SDK, and then we'll integrate with the identity provider. Then we'll discuss about the identity providers and how to add the extended capabilities to the story, right? That's the most important part here.
Got a quick question?
Yeah.
Byte is a React specific IDE, or is it?
No, this is not an IDE. It's just a template. What we call template or kind of template thing. Yeah. I know a little bit of this, but not that much. Yeah. So let's try. Oops. It's okay. So okay. First of all, I'll show you. So we have a web developer web portal that you can use. I have shared this slide deck in the GitHub. I'll show you that in the GitHub. This is the GitHub repo that you got from the link. I have uploaded the slide deck as well here. You can get it. There are these links. So quick start link here. I'll follow this link. Then we can easily implement one application, right? So this is simple how we can implement and integrate with the identity provider simple React application from the scratch, right? So first of all, we'll log into the I'll show you where you can download the product. Open source WSO2 identity server. So you can just download from here. It's open source. There are no any licensing. This is Apache license. You can use it in production as well, right? So once you have that, you can just start the product in any platform. There are Windows or whatever. So you can try out that in local machine. But I'll use the SaaS platform. That will be easy. So SaaS platform, Asgardeo. So as in this tutorial, quick start guide, what it says that first of all, we'll create the application. What is that? Basically, so now what you are going to do, you are going to integrate your client application with the identity provider. It can be a SaaS platform or maybe on-prem, right? So now here we are going to integrate with a SaaS platform. And when you integrate your client application with the identity provider has to uniquely identify you, right? Unless you can't communicate with the identity provider, right? When you, let's say that when you redirect your login request to the identity provider, how the identity provider knows you, right? It has to there should be some unique ID, and maybe once you redirect to the identity provider with some unique ID that is given by the identity provider, right? Then only your identity provider can pick you and do the need, and once the authentication finish, you have to redirect back to the correct redirection endpoint. Unless identity provider doesn't know where it should redirect, right? Then you should have a mutual understanding, where you redirect and where identity provider redirect back, right? So that's why when you integrate your client application with an identity provider, you have the application has to give the redirect URL. Once you finish the authentication, where it should come back, right? That is what it mentioned, authorized redirect URL, right? This URL we run the client application, right? When the authentication finish, it should be back to this URL, right? And the client ID where we are talking about here, the client ID will provide by the identity provider. When you register your client application in the identity provider, it will generate by the identity provider. You have to get that ID, unique ID, client ID in the client application, and you have to pass it when you redirect to the first redirection to the identity provider, right? Then only identity provider can
Increase the font size?
Sorry?
Can you increase the font size?
Okay. Is it clear? Okay. Right. So then we only talk about like authorized redirect URL and client ID, right? So then we'll go to the Asgardeo. I have login here as using my email user, and in the SaaS platform, as you know, in any SaaS platform, when you log in, you would have your own tenant space, right? You would have your own isolated space, right? So in SaaS platform, this is not actually SaaS. This is IDaaS, identity as a solution. So in the identity as solution, when you want to have your your own space and tenant space, once you create your account, there is a way that you can create a multiple organization. I'm talking about not only the W0. This is common to all the identity platform, even in the on-premise as well. So once you have your isolated space by creating your account, there will be a way to create your own multiple organization. Let's say you have a different sub-department, you would have a separate organization under that, right? So I have created a Harsha React demo organization here. Under that, you can see all this, the management console that you have to configure and register your application and do everything. You can see that the user management, application, and I'll go through this later, but you can see that the applications, what that mean. The application is the one that you register here. The application that you have in the client side, your side, you have to register here by giving whatever name. And let's say that we'll create a new application here, and different identity provider will provide a different way to create the application. Maybe that experience would get changed. So we have provided the first-hand support for the standard application formats. Let's say we'll go to the single page application and we'll create Houston React, right? And what is our callback URL, right? So what is our callback URL? As in this quick start guide, we'll use this same because the default project will run in this same port. I'll give this the authorized redirect URL that you know, right? And we'll add it and we'll create the application. So what we do here, like we just create, we create in the sense like, you know, we register our client application here, right? And once it register this client application here, so you can see in general section, in the protocol section, you can see the OpenID Connect, it communicate and it generate the client ID, right? I'll not go through all these things right now, but I'll get in a simple way. The client ID only we need to, like, you know, configure in the client application side to communicate with the identity provider, right? So that's all. Now, what the next step? Yeah, we'll create a simple Vite application. I'll just copy this. Okay, and so the React developers knows those things. This is React specific, that once you create this application, you have to, like, you know, install the then it install all the dependencies here, and then you can directly run this. But I'll open this in the editor. Yeah.
Oh, the font of the terminal.
Say it again.
The terminal font. Can you increase the terminal?
Terminal font. Okay. Terminal font. Command plus.
Under apparent? Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, in the terminal. There.
Okay. No, I'll use this terminal here. Okay. Yep. So we'll run this application simply. npm run dev. Yeah, it's simply run, right? So then we'll see how we can integrate that application with the Asgardeo, right? So in order to integrate with the identity provider, you can install this Asgardeo provided SDK the same way that you can use the Auth0 provided SDK as well. So in here we are using Asgardeo provided SDK. We'll just install it. Right. So once we have that in the space, the React application space, we'll talk about this, what the SDK exactly does here. The SDK, what it does, so once you install that, you can, so the SDK provided kind of, like, you know, couple of components, and that those component has a couple of hooks that you can connect and get the relevant the data object and the methods throughout the hook. So that's how the communication happen with the React application throughout that SDK to the external identity providers, right? So simply we have provided this auth provider. This is the component that we have provided. We'll integrate with the root level of the application, auth provider. So sorry, and this auth provider need the set of configuration. So yeah, we'll get the configuration set. What are the configurations that we need here? You can see the redirect URL. What is this redirect sign in redirect URL and sign out redirect URL. The client application wants to when the client application in the client application itself it has sign in button, and once you click on the sign in button it should redirect to the identity provider. What is that redirection URL? That is the identity provider sign in in here sign in redirect URL and sign out redirect URL that you have to provide where the the identity provider where it redirect back to the client application. Why we have stored this redirect URL here? When you do the first authorized request, when you click on the sign in button, when you first redirect to the client application, from the client application to the identity provider, you have to pass this redirect URL as well with the client ID, because that identity provider will validate that redirect URL as well, right? Because for the provided redirect URL, only identity provider will accept this first redirection, unless it will not accept, because as an example, let's say the client application can register in the identity provider and provide multiple redirect URL. What happened when the first when you redirect from your client application, if you provide another different registered redirect URL with the first redirection, when you even though you click in the web application A redirect to the identity provider and finish the authentication, and it redirect back to the B application. You can do that. There are some business scenarios, right? The specification will support that. That is why there's that capability that you can put multiple redirect URL in the identity provider side, and you can whatever selected URL you can provide here and tell to the identity provider, once you authenticate, you redirect back to the different web portal, kind of, right? That's why we have to provide the valid URL here. And the client ID you have to provide here, and the base URL is the identity provider URL. You can see that your organization name here, the one that I showed you, the organization name, you have to provide as a organization name, and this is the full URL that you redirect to the identity server. This is the identity server URL. And the scope, this is based on the specification that you provide. This is the way that you tell to the identity provider which scope that you have, which scope that you want to accept, and what are the claims that you claim, in the sense what are the user information that you need when you authenticate and when you get the ID token. So based on the scope, you are configuring those attributes, user attributes, what you need, right? Those are actually completely specification related thing, but when you implement this application, definitely you have to know those things. But this is the only thing that you have to configure with the React SDK. We'll put those things here, and we'll get the client ID from the identity provider. Right, and the base URL. Right, that's all. I think that's yeah. So now we have okay, this configuration we have to give to this component, and now we have wrap up the entire application by using this auth provider component, and now it's secured. Now what we have to do? Now we have to provide the sign in and sign out button, and use the auth provider hook and do the sign in sign out operation, right? So let's see how it does. We will just yeah, okay, so we'll go to the app.js. So you can see that this component, so here, so in this component we will access the hook. Yes, I don't remember the name. Use auth context. Yes. And here you can you use auth context hook. You can access the state object that contain all the user information once it get authenticated, and all the authenticated status as well, and sign in function, sign out function you can get from this hook, right? And then you can easily put this. I'll just copy entire thing. It will be easy. So we'll put it to the last. And you can see that I'll integrate this on-click event, this sign out and sign in methods from the hook, right? So I have checked the state object whether it's authenticated. If it is authenticated in this context, I'll show the sign out button. If it is not authenticated, I'll show the sign in button, right? So that's all. We'll run npm dev, sorry, npm, right. So now you can see the login button here, right? Once you click on that, it will redirect to the account Asgardeo, so to the SaaS platform. So and there's that one user. You can see that user available in this this guy, and I click on that sign in button. It log in. That's it, right? So you can just click on the log out button. It log out, right? So this login log out you can see. So
Yeah, I want to see the network tab.
okay, you can't see it. This is not Zoom.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I just want to see the logs.
Okay, yeah. So you can see that the login, right? You can see that the authorized request here. This is the authorized request. Redirect to the identity server, API Asgardeo. This is the you can see this. This is the redirection URL. It redirect to the identity server, and once you click on that, I'll clear here, sign in, and it will redirect back to our client application, and you can see that the token it retrieve the access token. You can see the ID token here, right, and the access token here, right. So this is that back channel call doing by the single page application, right. Once you click on that logout button, you can see that another request go to the identity server here, logout request to the identity server itself, right, this one. So this is how it works, and I'll show you like one more thing.
Can you go back to the last screen?
Yeah, this one.
That count of 0,
Which one?
is that maintained?
No. It's just like counting button.
Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't have anything. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah. So I'll show you like we don't know whether that user logged in or not because we haven't printed any user information here. We'll print the user information. We can easily print here state username because that state object has that user information. Once it get authenticated, we'll print here. State username. Let's see. State username. It's wrong. Okay. Let's log in. And yeah, the username printed, right? Logged in username. So this is like, just easily you can integrate with your identity provider and log into the application. Yeah.
Right.
Any question? Okay.
Can you show the generation of a mobile? You had that as one of the options?
But mobile, you mean like, a mobile application generation?
Yeah.
But it's how it possible right now because we don't have any way to like integrate with that mobile application, right?
Well, you can shrink the window and use the
No, we don't have.
Firefox developer stuff to show the window size and stuff.
It's same thing, like same protocol.
Right.
Even in the mobile application, what it does, you do the same redirection here. Like, basically when, let's say that when you click on the login button in the mobile application, right? If you are not redirecting, so in mobile application, you normally don't redirect, right? Right? In that case, you have to use a different protocol that using the back channel API call, do the authentication, right? But even in the mobile application also, I'm not expert in, as I said, like, application development side. So in the mobile application also, you can have like, the browser in the widget in the mobile frame, right? Even in the mobile frame, I think you can do the redirection. I think previously I remember people did that. The redirection happened in the mobile application as well. But later on that, coming with the like, provide the support for the native mobile application, the back channel API call support. The only problem is there's some kind of, the identity provider in the external side, you are passing the credential through the wire. That is a problem, right? That is why the banks, the financial organization don't like to delegate and redirect to the identity providers because the credential will pass through the wire. So they want to embed it, right? So the mobile application, we don't have option. We have to pass that through the wire. So that's it comes to that native application integration. So actually, I haven't tried that mobile application part, and I'm not even expert in.
I was just curious about the mobile versus. I noticed that.
It's like back channel API calls. Yes, not the redirection, but redirection also possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
So say you want to have like restrict some routes, say for like members and free users and pro users. Can you customize that? Customize the state variable that you have that you can access through that the provider.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you do that?
You mean like for the application side that you want to have that free user and the enterprise user kind of?
Two different apps.
It's a kind of a role, right? The role base that you have to like, basically you can group in the identity provider side, you can create a set of users and put into a group that in a different group, right? When the user get authenticate with the ID token, you would have like that, the user information and the group name. In the client side, that's what you want, right? In the client side, then now these users, when the user get authenticate, this user will belong to this group.
Right.
And the other group. That's possible.
Okay, and that would be stored where?
Identity provider.
In the IDP?
Yeah, in the IDP. Not a state, you mean like in the client application when you get to authenticate?
Yes.
Yeah, in the state variable, you can access I'll show you. Okay. So basically what happened here, so when you log in, in the login response with the token, as I said, this ID token, I'll show this. Sorry, it's not copied very well. You can see this is the JWT token. Once it decodes, you can see these three sections, this signature and this is the payload body. You can see this set of attributes. Some of them are like based on specification and the requested attributes. So you can see the username, right? And the sub, this is the user ID. and likewise the organization name. Likewise, you can have the group name as well.
Right.
That will be available in the client application side once you get the authenticate.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah. So what you can do in the identity provider side, you can create a group and assign all these users to that group and that group.
Right. Say they're tier 1 or tier
Exactly.
2 or
Exactly.
maybe, and
Exactly.
that can restrict them from
Yes.
accessing certain subdomains.
Yes. And the roles also available, but your requirement is like covering the grouping.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have integrated that, and how we have a time?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll show you that the extended capability, which is most important.
35 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll show you that. Basically, we'll see that how we can integrate a couple of other capabilities. So all these capabilities are available in all the identity providers, right? So basically, let's say that you need to integrate SMS OTP as the second step, right? Once you get the authenticate, this as a second step, you need to integrate the SMS OTP, right? So in this application, what you have to do, in this application that you registered here, there's a tab login flow that this can be interpreted in different way in another identity provider with different name, or maybe the user experience would be get changed. So we have provided this, the user experience that you can easily integrate that. As a second step, you can add this button and click on this, and you can integrate multiple things, passkey and the email OTP, SMS OTP, those things, right? This SMS OTP that you have to configure previously with your one of your own SMS provider, like so, because the SaaS platform will not provide that because it's cost, right? So yeah, exactly, right? So you have to configure that in the connection, and it will come to here. I have configured a kind of a hook, web hook, so we can check this. So I'll add this SMS OTP, and once I just added the SMS OTP, that's it. Update it, right? That's all. We'll go to the application, and once you click on the login button, once you sign in, first step. Once you sign in, the second step will prompt to the SMS OTP. You will get the hook, and I'll paste this, and it authenticated, right? So you can easily integrate these options, like that different way, like let's say that I have added that the passwordless, that fingerprint or maybe the face detections. You can easily, I have put the passkey to this lab and configure the passkey. You can add that passkey here as the multi option. Here we talked about like multi-step. Once you provide the credential, the OTP provide. Here we can provide multi-option, like either provide the credential or passkey, right? Fingerprint. When you provide the fingerprint, you don't need to provide the credential, right? Which is obvious. So then I put that, and let's say we'll log out and click on the login. So you will see the sign in with passkey. Once you click on that, it will ask this. I'll provide the fingerprint here. It automatically authenticated back. Sorry. Okay. It something went wrong with this. The second step applied for this. Not sure what happened. I'll remove this second step because of this passkey not provide the after passkey. I think second step will not apply. Let me check. Couldn't recognize that part. We'll remove the steps too. Let's see. Update button is
I think
this.
you need to hit X on the second step. It's still there.
Yeah, I think something went wrong here. Yes, let's add. Passkey only. something went wrong, I guess. Yeah, I think with the second step, it didn't apply with the passkey, I guess. I need to check that. So likewise, so you can configure multiple option here. So yeah, there's some issue, I guess. Yeah, okay. So again, like you can configure, let's say, if you want to configure the Google as the multi-option, you can just add Google here. I have created Google application in the application platform in the Google and added this, and you can just log in, and you will see the sign in with the Google. You can just so you can just easily log in using user. Yep.
So we're going to customize that landing page for the login, or is that?
You mean like the login page?
The Asgardeo,
Yeah, it's possible. Okay. So I'll show you. So basically, there is that branding section here. Yeah, you can do like go to the branding and style here.
But it's still going to be accounts. Was it accounts.asgardeo for the?
I mean, domain. This is the directory, but you can have a DNS mapping, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you can wrap it up, right, in front of, yeah.
Nice.
So here you can, the design here, we have provided a couple of different designing out of the box, and that's a kind of a premium capability that you can do whatever and upload the kind of a format, then that's a premium capability. And other than that, you have like this capability, and again you can customize the logos and the stuff and the styling, everything here. So I think styling part in here, yeah, this one, images, color palette and everything. You can design the layout, and your own layout you can remove everything. Yeah, so and again, like when you, like let's say that when you have I'll show you one more example here, that let's say we'll add email OTP. I'll show you why it's special. So I have email, I got the email. So you can see this email, the layout, right? That with the email OTP, it's in the email, right? You got it, right? Mm-hmm. That's the second step, email OTP triggered and it sent the email. This email layout, there are so many email templatings that you can customize those layout as well here. All the, like your own template, you can have it to, like, send in the email and the stuff. So
is it free to send emails as well, or do you have to?
For some extent, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, the Asgardeo provide like 7,000 MAU, like, monthly active user up to 7,000 is free.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you provide the OTP, it authenticated.
For startups, it's good.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I get 7,000 users, I'm happy.
Yeah. So then those are actually all are common thing.
For 7,000.
What's that?
You will even pay for 7,000.
7,000 more. I'm happy with that.
So basically, user management part, users, groups, and roles. Those are like very common thing, and yeah. So there are so many other capabilities behind this, but a bit more like advanced use cases. And from the SDK side, I need to give a couple of few things. I think I don't try to do everything, but in this repo, there is another branch, SDK integrated. I have implemented a complete application that covers all the the capabilities that you should have. Basically, as an example, let's say that once you get authenticated, you need to access all the attribute, username, given groups, email, everything. So how you can access those information, and when you call the backend APIs, there's another trick, very important thing that we have integrated in this React SDK. So you know that basically all the access token that you normally have to store in your the browser session storage. You don't have any other option, right? When you get the access token, you can see that here. Right? You can see that session data. You can see everything in the session storage. Right? Access token, ID token, available in the session storage, right? But in have you heard about because of your familiar with the browser and the JavaScript thing, the web worker thread? There is a web worker thread in browser. It's running in separately from the main thread. No one can access the browser main thread, that web worker thread. It's like the message communication, JMS kind of communication. If you want to communicate with that web worker thread, you have to have some way to connect with that web worker and the main thread, right? So that you have to pass the message and communicate it, right? So because of that, the very isolated space, we have developed a way to store that access token in the web worker thread. No one can access, even someone do a phishing attack to the browser, even though they access the session storage, they can't access the web worker, right? So we have implemented that capability in this SDK. What you have to do, you have to tell in here this configuration. I have implemented that in this SDK. I'll show you that you could see that all the data available in the session storage, right? So I'll show you by putting this configuration in here. You can see storage, right? This configuration, you can put the storage as a web worker. Once you put that configuration here, I'll show you. You can't. No one can see the data, right? Right. We'll clear this and log in. You can't see the access token, right? If you want to, I can show you the network trace, the login. You can see that you can't see the token call here. Okay, wait 1 minute. You can hear this access token available here, right? This is the network call. But if you go to the application session storage, you can't see anything. It's stored in the web worker thread. No one can access, right? So then storing the access token in the web worker thread, then how the application use it? Because that is what we discuss here, right? So once the application get the access token, it needs to access the backend resources, right? So what happened? If you want to access some sort of backend APIs, right? So then I have implemented those things in this dashboard page. You can see data retrieve. So this you can follow this, and you can see this. I have accessed this backend API, and this backend API you have to configure in this configuration like this. You have to give it's kind of a whitelisting your backend URL in this configuration, right? Like this, all the backend URLs that you are accessing from the application, you have to whitelist here, and then only your client application access this backend URL. And when you access those backend URL in this code, when you access that backend URL, if you want to pass that access token, then you have to say attach the token true. Then that web worker thread automatically attach that access token that's stored in the web worker to the header and call the backend. You will not get the access token to your hand into the main browser thread, but the web worker thread will do all the communication on behalf of you. Yeah.
Because the web worker storage is not persistent, right?
No, not persistent. It's a temporary. Once you close the tab, you will not get anything.
And why not just store it as a in-memory data structure?
What do you mean by in the browser?
Yeah, just store as a local variable that can't be accessed.
That can be accessed. The problem is then, that is why we have introduced this web worker thread, because we can use as a local variable or maybe session storage, whatever, but then anyone can do a kind of a phishing attack and get the data and submit to their own endpoint.
They can access the session storage. But
Yeah.
But if you save it as a local variable.
But still, if you allow them, like, let's say someone implement your client application like without not thinking that much and putting some like text box, and if someone can put some JavaScript and interpret your browser base context, right? The document context, they can access your local variable and submit to your wherever like external endpoint, right? So that vulnerability you cannot hide, because JavaScript browser, it's open. Anyone can do anything, right?
I think you can safely store it in a closure that can't be accessed. An isolated closure that functions the same as a web worker.
But yeah, so that I don't know that part, but to be honest, like the thing is like web worker is more secure, but even in the web worker also, I would say that web worker also not 100% safe, because the way that the main thread and the web worker communication, it's also open. Anyone can, I mean, it's a very complicated, but anyone can trace it and write a tool and identify how it communicates, and still it's vulnerable. The browser, no one can say that it's 100% safe. Whatever you do, it's not 100% safe. We can maximize the complexity and reduce the vulnerability to the external, right?
Nothing is safe. Yeah, I guess the fear is if someone could dump the stack, they'd see that variable.
Yeah.
And see the token.
Even in the web worker thread, I mean, we can save for the runtime, but the people can get the browser code, no? They can write a tool and identify how to communicate with that and put some malicious code to the browser through the phishing attack and hijack it. Yeah. That's possible. Browser never secure. It's 100% sure. Right? So, yeah, so those are so many things have to,
Not brought up at this point, but I thought I'd throw it out there. Is there any provision for special treatment for voice, as in voice, using voice to log in or to do validation or do verification?
Voice.
Voice, as in, yes, I want to log on. Yes, it's me.
Yeah, it's. I think it's not something new, because you can integrate whatever the extension to the product authentication flow. I'll show you a simple thing here. So in here.
I'm particularly interested in that because I'm working in the disabled.
Okay, so that's a kind of part of implementation, external implementation, but you can integrate with the identity provider, right? That's what I want to show you.
I'm talking about specifically in the authentication part. I've already got the application going with that.
Okay.
But I wanted to know if there was an authentication piece that is an add-on or something that allows for voice validation.
You're talking about the voice over OTP kind of.
I'm talking about if I go to 2FA and I try to log on, and then the thing speaks to me and says, "Are you Charlie?" And I go, "Yes, I'm Charlie," and it can recognize.
I think there are some extension, but I'll show you how. In the W0 product, how you can integrate. Okay. So basically, in here, if you go to the login flow, okay. So I showed you how to integrate by dragging and kind of. But if you go down here, the conditional authentication, you can see You click on that and it will open up the JavaScript, right? So let's say that you are adding something here, right? Let's say, okay, add a few things here. You can see that multiple steps come here, right? So whatever that you do, it will in kind of the JavaScript that, I mean, what happened here. So Rhino, have you heard about Rhino engine, the JavaScript engine? You can have you can execute JavaScript in the backend, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we have integrated the Rhino engine to our backend identity provider. So and the complete authentication flow we are developing and automatically generating using JavaScript. Whatever that you do in here, the UI, it automatically generates the inside JavaScript and run on top of the Rhino engine. Right? So that's why once you have this multiple step, it will automatically generate this JavaScript function, right? And even if you...
Could you zoom in too? Or for the code part?
Okay.
So that bottom one, that execute step thing,
Yeah.
that's where you put in the code to do voice recognition stuff.
Yeah, so let me show you. So I'll add a kind of, let's say, predefined flow, conditional login flow, let's say, use age base, okay. I want to show you that how we can integrate that part.
Okay.
Look at this. Here it generates this JavaScript. This is complete login flow. You can write whatever the external component, let's say that the Java component or whatever, and you can connect through those Java APIs using JavaScript API because we have provided this adaptive script capability. This is what we integrated. This script will allow only login application if the user is configured. So what it does, based on the age limit, it controls the login flow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then you can write your own JavaScript here and control the complete login flow based on your whatever condition. Right? Without putting that drag and drop things, you can write your own and connect your external component and map it to the JavaScript function and call in through this. Then you can do whatever, that's why. Right? And I remember we implemented your voiceover thing for one of our customers. I don't know whether it's available in our connections. I'm not sure that part. Let's see.
Can you disclose their use case? I feel like someone could just record their voice. And there's a lot of AI voice cloning nowadays.
All it takes is a couple
Yes.
sentences.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
terrible.
no, you're right, but I'm talking about disabled users are not worried about getting their voice stolen. They're worried about logging in and having to constantly be doing text and all this other crap to get into.
I remember such a use case that we have implemented voiceover.
For a specific application?
The National Foundation for the Blind is looking for this overall, and they've got 70 million disabled people, about 50 million blind people out in the world, right? 50 million, that's your audience, okay?
Would facial
Potential.
recognition be better?
What?
Facial recognition?
Or fingerprint.
There are a lot of options they're looking at, okay?
Fingerprint.
The problem with facial recognition is that if you're blind, where do you put it?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know, you have to make sure you've got the camera facing the right place, whereas voice is voice. But anyway, you raise a good point. I mean, you can replicate the
NFC.
voice.
I think the best thing would be NFC, like a ID card you can tap or something. Or
Then you have to
Bluetooth.
provide people with those
And then
ideas.
you have
Yeah.
to provide people and maintain that, and yeah.
What about Bluetooth? Like, you have your device on you, and if it's within proximity,
Yeah, no, but he's
it's
right
a cool
about
problem space though. Like that,
No,
you're right, it
it's
is.
an interesting problem space.
Yeah, it's
And
difficult.
I have friends that are fully blind, as a matter of fact, one guy, he was an early pioneer and has patents in virtual reality, and then he went blind. So it's like, oh man, so he can imagine all he wants, and he used to do it 20 years ago, but he can't see what he does anymore.
Yeah.
He can't physically see it. And then having to deal with all these interfaces that he has to, type in, and or digesters, or it's a nightmare. I've seen it, I've watched them try to navigate some of this stuff, and if we had simple ways of logging in, that would be one piece that would help a lot.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. It
So-
seems it's possible, so.
I'm just saying that's a really interesting part of this.
Talking about
this thing.
security,
Well, if you can write your own JavaScript, you
all your code
absolutely
is
implement
open
it.
source.
Asgardeo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh,
It's
yeah.
only
And
a
like,
cool problem, like
go
single
to the-
processing, you gotta create fingerprint
That's a different thing.
It sounds like,
That's a again chicken thing.
There's a lot of fun stuff in this, in this domain.
And know how do you do that, and then,
It's like-
No, that's a good point, but there are two things that the most of the open source product.
If you're interested in this is part of a project that's, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too far.
yeah, we can sync on it offline.
But, yeah, let's talk.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. This is open source code,
Yeah,
and I can take this code and see how did you do everything,
yeah.
and hack it.
Okay. Yeah, good point.
What is your
Yeah, so it's not only for us, like, it's different thing. It's a different story, right? So few things that we have to know, like with the open source product, right? The open source product is the most like exposed thing to the world, and that based on our experience, we can't do a release, because when we do a release, we have to announce to the public, because we are open source, right? We have a public mailing thread. A lot of people are in the mailing list. So when we do a release, we are running a voting, right? We can't do a release like couple of months, because thousands of people scanning our product using the scanning tools and provide the vulnerabilities, list of vulnerabilities, right? Until we fix all these issues, we can't release the product.
And I think security by obscurity never works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we can't even release the product with the security vulnerabilities, because the lot of scanning tools running against us. But the closed source product, no one running the scanning. Then that's the most risk place that the product can easily vulnerable, because no one run the scan. They only run the scan. We don't know anything. We use it. Have you heard about that the Okta recently they lose their source code suddenly, right? Yeah, it was exposed. So that kind of things happen because it's not open. So we are really open. So I have received this question many times. So that's one thing. Other thing is lot of skillful people contribute to the source code. So they are working with us. So it's really challenging, merging a code to the main branch. So many challenges, right? Here and there, jumping and people putting comment and putting -1. It's very hard to commit to the main branch. That happened. The open source, most of the open source product, that happened. So especially the open source projects are in the CNCF.
Yeah.
Because under the CNCF, there are so many regulations. So we are in the CNCF. So if it is not in the CNCF, the Apache 2 only license, there are kind of control for the organization. But when you go to the CNCF, we don't have a control.
Right.
It's controlled by the CNCF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Got a question. I feel like you've touched on this a lot, but in your opinion, what is the biggest benefit of using something like Asgardeo over something like Auth0?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, most of the SaaS platform are same, kind of, right? So when you compare with the features and when it available in the W0 especially is specific because of the open source, right? You can run it in your own business in the on-premise, and same as the SaaS platform, right? Once you have set of application and everything in your on-prem deployment, you can easily integrate everything, migrate everything to the SaaS platform, because same product, same version in the both place. We are unique in the industry because we are the only one who has the open source plus the same version in the SaaS platform. Auth0 proprietary, and Auth0 actually Auth0 is very popular, and because why they are popular, they are giving a a huge bar like in the free tier. They are providing, I think more than 100,000 free tier. So it's a big, right? They have enough money, they can do the those things. So, but when you compare with the features and evolving with the features, we are a bit ahead. And again, that experience would get like when you get real support. So the Auth0 is a bit matured. They don't care about the customers because they are a very big company. So when you get some support for the development with the integrating with the Auth0, bit challenging. You have to do everything. But WSO is not a big company. So such a small company will help to the lot of application developers to integrate with the product, and especially because of our open source, we have a lot of materials and the stuff with the client application developers. So I mean, we can't say that huge differences with the SaaS platform kind of Auth0 and WSO do. But when we talk about the on-prem versions, definitely we are in very ahead because there are no such a product open source that available with all these features. Yeah, the Keycloak available, but Keycloak is a bit messy because it's very old project. So yeah. Anything else?
We have about a few minutes.
I mean, just kind of curious, what's your profit model? Like, is it
Yeah.
support and hosting?
Yeah, actually, so we actually late to the market in the SaaS because we started like 20 years back. We are almost like more than 1,000 people in the company. We are a big company. Yeah, we have more than 1,000 customers actually. So we have like, we are not, I'll show that couple of slide deck about the company as well. So
Well, the short
because
answer
of,
is you charge
I'm not,
something, right?
I didn't plan to show this because this is not a sales pitch, no. So, but I'll show you that.
The short answer is you're charging for consulting and setup, right?
No, we don't do that. We are delegating everything to partners. We are not doing consulting service. We are only doing the support for the production. If anyone get the product to the production, and if they want to get the support for the production, then only we can earn the money. We have millions of downloads and users, but no one pay. Yeah. So we are not only identity actually. We have started 20 years back as an integration company, and then we develop API manager and identity server. So we have all three areas covered, which is like same thing. The API management is very common thing that you have to manage all the APIs and the throttling and all the things. And the API manager need a key manager to integrate with the identity server. So then identity server comes, and the API manager, the behind story, you have to integrate all the legacy services and everything. The integration server comes. So all three products as a platform we have provided. So we have all three products open source. So and we have. The SaaS platform as in the identity server, actually identity server, Asgardeo, and we have a private cloud as well. So yeah, here we have this detail. These are a bit all. These are I mean, we have all the business verticals because we are middleware now, so we don't have any specific business vertical. We have all the business verticals. Yeah, we are in I think more than 120 countries. And we are in the Gartner, Forrester, Kuipin-Kakao in the front. Actually, we are very famous in the open source world, not the SaaS platform. We are late to come to the SaaS. That's why the Auth0 comes to the picture. So, yeah.
Oh, Mercedes-Benz.
I have been in WSO almost 12 years right now. Yeah, so, yeah.
So, what is it? It's WS?
WSO2.
WS.
Yeah.
Who approves merge requests to the GitHub?
It's actually the group. Yeah, set of.
Voting thing?
Yeah, cool. Internal voting thing. Yeah, yeah.
I'll see if I can contribute.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it's open. Yeah. So there are so many mailing lists as well. You can subscribe. You can receive all the architectural discussion, everything. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. All the product pipeline, roadmap, everything is available in the open in the GitHub.
It's a really cool model for running a business.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Harsha. I have to announce that we will have other presentations from Harsha, maybe as a webinar
Yeah, WordPress.
or something like this connected to WordPress. Maybe we can do something in IO. But I think it's very interesting topic, and we have to talk more about it.
There we go. Thank you. 그건 아이가. large, yeah. A couple minutes of it.